and Assalamualaikum everyone. This is Faiza Saleem. Please welcome yourselves to Let's Talk About It in collaboration with the US Consulate. ये शो कॉमेडी शो नहीं है. इस शो में हम बात करेंगे कुछ ऐसे इश्यूज के बारे में जिनके बारे में बात करना जरूरी है और थोड़ा मुश्किल भी. In the first episode, we have Miss Malia Zia, who is Advocate High Court and also the Associate Director at Legal Aid Society. Malia, I could go on and on about you, लेकिन थोड़ा सा आप अपने बारे में बता देंगे तो ऑडियंस को थोड़ा ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा.
Thank you so much, Faiza, for having me here. I'm very honored. I'm a huge fan of yours as well.
Thank you so much.
मेरा जो काम है, as you said, a lawyer. I'm a researcher and a trainer on gender-based violence and violence against women and human rights.
Okay, Malia, your CV is so impressive. कि मैं जब सोच रही थी कि क्या सवाल पूछूं, मैंने कहा कहाँ से शुरू हूँ और कहाँ तक लेके चलूँ. But I would like to focus on gender-based violence, and with that, my first question to you is, how do you define violence? Is it just physical, या फिर violence has, I think, many other forms? But how would you define violence?
When we talk about violence, जब तशद्दुद की हम बात करते हैं, normally 5 किस्म की, अगर if we summarize it, किस्म की होती हैं. One is physical, and physical easiest one to identify. It's hitting, beating, breaking somebody's arm, murder, गैरत के नाम पर कत्ल होता है, acid violence होता है. It's wrongful confinement, किसी को कमरे के अंदर लॉक करना, as I said, hitting, threatening to hit, ये सारी चीज़ें हैं very common. Then you can take it even more, कि whether it's rape, etc., ये सारी चीज़ें आ जाती हैं. The second one that I think is more common is psychological and emotional violence. Now, I'm sure you've seen cases. I'm sure you know friends, have someone, there's someone in your group whose father or husband is always horrible, and वो हर वक्त excuses बनाते रहते हैं.
और वो कि वो वैसे उनका मूड हमेशा खराब होता है, but like you know they keep saying कि नहीं आज खराब है, मूड उनका हर वक्त खराब होता है, and you know they don't have boundaries. और वो छोटी छोटी चीजें होती हैं जो different घरों में कि you know चीख के बात करना, या even like putting down their spouse कि ये तुमने क्या पहना हुआ है, या तुम कैसी लग रही हो. इनफैक्ट मुझे सबसे जो अनोइंग चीज़ लगती है और बड़ी हमारे माशरे में बड़ा उसको एक छोटी चीज़ समझा जाता है, वो ये कि आप अक्सर ड्रामा भी देखेंगे कि तुम क्या बकवास कर रही हो बेवकूफ़ औरत.
Exactly.
Have you seen कि हर ड्रामे में एक कपल ऐसा होता है जिसमें बेवकूफ़ औरत डिफाइन हो जाती है.
To belittle someone, कि उनको आप इतना समझाएं कि वो कुछ नहीं है, कि उनको खाने की क्रिटिसिज्म करें, आप जो पहना हुआ क्रिटिसिज्म करें कि क्या कर सकते हो, कंट्रोलिंग देम, उनको इतना खौफ डराना कि हम कहाँ जा सकते हैं, कहाँ नहीं जा सकते. ये हमारे घर के रूल्स हैं. ये इसके आगे जाना, इट ब्रेक्स दैट साइकोलॉजिकल ट्रॉमा जो होता है बहुत ज्यादा होता है, एंड इट कैन बी येलिंग, स्क्रीमिंग, क्रिटिसाइजिंग, लेकिन एक पैटर्न डेवलप हो जाता है जिसमें एक पूरे घर का एक अंदाज खराब हो जाता है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट कैन ऑल्सो गो इनटू let's say workplace, sexual harassment की जब हम बात करते हैं. For example, sexual harassment is easy to understand कि जब किसी ने हाथ लगाया, unwanted touch, या उनको demanding sexual favors. लेकिन there's something called a hostile environment as well. For example, अगर आप काम की बात करते हैं, hostile work environment, it talks about creating such a weird environment कि innuendos उनको इनका uncomfortable feel करवाना.
उनको define करना मुश्किल हो जाता है, but it's just a feeling of discomfort, of unease, कि जहाँ पे आप किसी को बता इसने मुझे ये कहा या इसने मेरे साथ ये किया, बताना मुश्किल हो जाता है. इनफैक्ट जब मैं 2010 सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट एक्ट के बारे में पढ़ी थी, वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट एक्ट के बारे में पढ़ी थी, तो उसमें केस था, शुरू के दिनों की बात है कि शुरू में केस आया था कि एक आदमी ने एक औरत को बोल दिया था जाहिल औरत. तो मैंने सोचा था ये बड़ा it's very difficult to take someone to court for something like this, because हमारा कितना आम है इस तरह की कभी language use करना, but that also does constitute harassment.
It could, absolutely, because अगर it depends on कि कहाँ कहा था, किस circumstances में कहा था. For example, and I'll give a personal example कि where it may come on discrimination. I was young at that point, and we were sitting in a meeting full of 50 people, and I asked 1 or 2 questions, and my senior turned around to me and he said, Maliha, don't waste everyone's time and just stay quiet. And it was humiliating to belittle me so much in public. So that's also psychological. लेकिन वो फिर harassment की तरफ जब आता है, it's when it becomes innuendos, conversations, talking. There was a case that we dealt with, the man used to watch porn on his videos. He would be watching it and you would know कि क्या हो रहा है, या suggestive pictures on the. So it's creating an uncomfortable environment. And it's very subjective, but it's very hard to identify as well?
I mean, for example, someone pats you on the back, but वो एक अंकल, एक फादरली फिगर भी हो सकते हैं जो कि आपको उन्होंने सिर्फ पैट किया कहने को, बट देन स्लाइटली 1 इंच के फर्क से वो जो है वो हरासमेंट के एम्बिट में आ जाता है, फ्रॉम you know, like affection from an uncle or a father figure to harassment.
And it's interesting that you say that, because we're taught at a very young age to not say no to our elders. कि मेरे 3 बच्चे हैं and we'll go into places where they'll say आ जाओ, इसको किस करो, आकर इनको हक करो. We're not teaching our children autonomy. We're not taught autonomy. अगर कोई भी बड़ा आकर मुझसे कुछ पूछे, I have to say yes, because that's what we're taught. And then you have to stay silent as well.
And it's about our culture, right? अगर हमारे कल्चर में एक चीज नॉर्मल है तो उसको कोई अगर जैसे you know, in books I've read, in various places I've read about cases, real life cases, जहाँ पे जो सर्वाइवर के करीब शख्स होगा वो ही सबसे ज़्यादा जो है वो उसको हार्म पहुँचा सकता है और पहुँचाता है. लेकिन हम किसी को चाचा मामू खाला खालू को हम कैसे उसमें से you know, like we feel bad about it. You can't say कि अच्छा हाँ, you can't babysit my child, whereas there have been cases the world over, not just in Pakistan, कि जहाँ पे और ज़्यादातर यही होता है कि करीबी शख्स से ही जो है वो you know,
any kind of the violence.
अच्छा जो है वहाँ से शुरू होता है.
So when we talk about sexual violence, which is the third kind of violence, it is exactly this. Okay, normally sexual violence 99% of the time is committed by someone known to you. Or who has access to you. अगर घर के अंदर, is it a family member? Is it a neighbor? Is it an uncle? Is it someone? And it just it baffles my mind कि हम कितना खामोश रह सकते हैं. The statistics are 1 in every 3 girls, 1 in every 4 boys. I myself have been a victim of child sexual abuse, but we don't talk about it.
It's difficult, I think, because बचपन में अगर आप अपने किसी पेरेंट के पास जाएं, पहले ही तो बात की कि बच्चे कंफर्टेबल नहीं होते कि जाके अपने पेरेंट्स को ऐसी चीज़ बताएं. इनफैक्ट उससे पहले उनको पता भी नहीं होता कि हुआ क्या है हमारे साथ, फिर उनके अंदर बताने की हिम्मत नहीं होती. कभी आई नो पीपल पर्सनली और ऑफ पीपल जिनके साथ ये हुआ, उन्होंने पेरेंट्स को बताने की कोशिश की लेकिन पेरेंट्स खुद डिनाइल में चले गए बिकॉज मे बी वाज अबाउट देयर सिबलिंग और समवन क्लोज टू देम. तो एक बड़ा एंड द चाइल्ड गेट्स स्टक इन अ साइकिल ऑफ अब्यूज एट होम एंड दैट इज ऑफन वेयर इट स्टार्ट्स and goes on till you know a later age, और फिर शादी में भी you know
seep in करता है. Tell anyone about it.
They can't tell anyone about it.
But even if we go on to जो आजकल reality है, boyfriends, intimate partners, all of that. If let's say a boyfriend does something to you or someone who you're flirting with, you can't tell anyone about it because माँ बाप क्या कहेंगे, लोग क्या कहेंगे.
इन्होंने तो like she was asking for
it. Why did you have a boyfriend in the first place? You know, ये सारी चीजें जो आती हैं.
But I think people need to know the meaning of consent.
Exactly.
And people need to understand what is okay and what is not okay in every kind of relationship.
And what can you consent to and what are you not, and how do you show consent?
Exactly. But ये होता है कि if somebody is in a relationship, then ये उनके साथ होना is okay.
And you consent to everything.
And you consent to everything. And that is not the case.
Even in, you know, husband and wife situation, family situations, everything is consent.
Yeah.
Which also then comes into the question about that powerlessness, comes into the other form of violence, economic abuse.
Yeah.
Now, economic abuse is something we don't talk a lot in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Now, हमारे माशरे में women are not encouraged to study, not encouraged to work. शादी हो जाती है, leave your jobs. बच्चा हो जाता है, leave your job. It leaves women very dependent on the men in the family. ये तो I'm talking about your upper class औरतें जो जिन्होंने काम किया है. Even if you go into देहात वगैरह में, the women have to turn over their salaries to the men have the financial power. जब वो financial power misuse होता है कि औरत को हक नहीं है कि पैसों पर कोई इस्तेमाल कर सके, she does not have a say in that, decision making in that, and हर वक्त वो फंसी होती है because if I leave him or if I walk away from my father, who's going to give me खाना?
जो कंट्रोल है वो मनी रिलेटेड हो जाता है. So if for example I'm not listening to my father or my husband, तो उनके पास उनको लगता है कि राइट है कि वो पैसे से पीछे खींच लेंगे तो they'll be able to control the person in question. अच्छा बलिया, harassment उसको डिफाइन करना बहुत मुश्किल है, but it is a form of violence.
Yes.
How could we possibly, if we tried, how could we define harassment? I know, like हमने जैसे भी बात किया कि वो छोटे-छोटे you know चीज़ों में आ जाता है, wherever you feel uncomfortable. So is it just a matter of how you feel, or is there a legal definition for it? How can I get legal recourse?
So there's two kinds of laws on it. There's a Harassment at the Workplace Act 2010, and उसके बाद अलग-अलग provinces में provincial laws हैं. And then there's the Pakistan Penal Code Section 509, which talks about public harassment. Now we've talked about that harassment, okay, if it's touching, sexual innuendo, sexual demands, that was very obvious. But the other one is if you're using some kind of sexual permissibility as a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
And तीसरा है creating that hostile work environment.
Okay.
So making it uncomfortable. Again, it's very, very subjective, and it's very hard to say. Cases range from where, if we're talking about reported cases, where a teacher supposedly had an affair with a student and then would yell at her in public because she moved on. It's ranged from cases where, a doctor, gave a hug to his patient. So it varies because it's so subjective. It comes back to a question about power.
Yeah.
Who has the power and who has the power to say no and to get away? So it's a very complicated and subjective.
It is complicated. I know it's difficult to define, but I think जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा discomfort की feeling आती है, I think that is enough validation, right? I feel that, and I could be wrong, but I feel that that is how we define harassment. कि जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा feel हो कि ये boundary से बाहर खिसकता जा रहा है, if not completely बाहर चला गया, तब भी.
नहीं, absolutely. And I think when it comes to harassment, बात करने की मुश्किलात क्यों होती है? It's precisely because of this gray area.
Yeah.
How do you identify it? How do you talk about it? Now, harassment to a certain level in Pakistan is so common. It's so common that I remember the first time I went abroad and no one was staring at me and I was like, what's happened? This is so strange.
It's normal to be stared at here. तो मैं हम लोग का जो definition है harassment की and what we can do about it बड़ा हमारा एक अलग I think थोड़ा सा उसमें चले जाते हैं. But I think the world over there are so many horrible cases that we hear of कि मुझे लगता है कि सिर्फ पाकिस्तान, because Pakistan is our own environment, मुझे लगता है पाकिस्तान में हो रहा है, पर दुनिया भर में अजीब चीजें हो रही हैं. And I think the more we talk about it, the more awareness we'll be able to raise. लेकिन Malia, I want the audience to know this, and I want you to also elaborate on it if you like, कि FIR register करवाना आपका हक है. If you go to the police, and that's one of the first steps that people often have to take in such cases, उनका आपकी FIR को register करना आपका हक है, वो आपको मना नहीं कर सकते हैं.
Exactly.
But you also mentioned, हम जब इसके बारे में बात कर रहे थे कि उससे पहले भी you should be planned. So if you are trying to escape domestic violence or violence of any kind, और आपके पास obviously if it's not immediate है तो you have to go to the local police station. But अगर immediate नहीं है, it has to be done in a certain manner. कि आप पहले एक lawyer के पास जाएं, आप उनसे अपना course of action पूछें, so that you are well guided.
Absolutely. I think just two things. One, if we talk about what I was saying earlier on, we have to break that culture of silence.
Yeah.
Because I think from an individual or social level, we have to start talking about our own experiences to others.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a difference because जब लोगों को एहसास होता है या ख़वातीन को या transgender को या बच्चे को कि I am not alone. This happens a lot. People start to become more aware and tolerance grows less. हम खुद ही देख सकते हैं. This you were saying earlier on as well कि अगर जब Me Too movement की बात होती है, sexual harassment की बात होती है, people are more conscious of it now.
Yeah.
Than they were before. So people can change.
Yeah.
Society can change, and it already is changing.
Yeah.
We just have to stop giving a social tolerance to it. जब हम legal की बात करते हैं, you have several options. If you want, it depends on कि आपको end result क्या चाहिए. What is your concept of justice?
Yeah.
You want to send someone to jail or have them pay damages to you? You have to go through the criminal way. FIR कटवाना. फिर उसके बाद if it's physical, medical, legal कराना ज़रूरी है. Then after that आपका पूरा criminal process चलता है.
Which can take a couple of months or even longer.
Yes. Sometimes 2 to 3 years sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay.
If you want to do something कि you just want to escape, आप अपने हक लेकर जाना चाहते हैं, you want to leave that person forever, you go through family law or any other civil law where you can go to the lawyer, you file a case in court, you go through that process and then you get your rights. लेकिन जो बहुत ज़रूरी है is to know कि आपके हकूक हैं क्या, आपके पास power है क्या. And very often it is important कि आपको पहले से अगर ये पता चले, prepare in advance.
Yeah.
Of course, अगर कोई incident of violence immediately हो जाता है, you have to rush to the police. लेकिन for example, if you are a victim of domestic violence, you can prepare in advance and not leave suddenly. पैसे निकालें, make sure you're protected, make sure your paperwork is in order. All of these things are very important. And it's important to reach out to a lawyer and talk to them about it कि आपके सबसे क्या ज़रूरी चीज़ें हैं and how do you protect yourself afterwards. Make a plan where possible.
अच्छा, काफ़ी लोग ऐसे भी होंगे जो हमें देख रहे होंगे और जनरली काफ़ी मैंने ऐसे खुद केसेस देखे कि जहाँ पे दे वांट लीगल एड बट दे कैन नॉट अफोर्ड इट. तब उस सूरत में लीगल एड सोसाइटी कम्स इन एंड यू नो देयर आर अदर ऑप्शंस एज वेल. हाउ कैन योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हेल्प सच पीपल? आप लोग क्या करते हैं? रिहेबिलिटेट करते हैं आप लोग? हाउ डू यू हेल्प समवन लाइक दैट?
So the Sindh Legal Advisory Call Center, जिसका नंबर है 0800 70806, is a free legal aid helpline run by the government of Sindh. It provides completely free legal aid. It's run by a retired Supreme Court justice and lawyers with years and years of experience. So you can call anytime between 9 to 5, and otherwise there's an answering machine. They'll call you back first thing in the morning.
Okay.
So they will be able to give you completely free of cost legal advice. So for example, if you want to know कि आपका क्या हक है, what paperwork do you need, they'll be able to give that information to you.
Okay.
उसके अलावा लीगल एड सोसाइटी प्रोवाइड्स फ्री ऑफ एड लीगल एड कि अगर आपको केस कोर्ट में ले जाना है, ऑम्बुड्सपर्सन के सामने ले जाना है, लीगल एड सोसाइटी एंड सेवरल अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस प्रोवाइड दैट काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. If you come to the Legal Aid Society website, which we will put in the comments, there's a publication which is a full referral directory of people who provide free legal aid.
Okay, that is very very helpful. I hope जो आप लोग मुझे देख रहे हैं, मलिया को देख रहे हैं, आप लोगों को ये डिस्कशन इंसाइटफुल लगा हो, हेल्पफुल लगा हो. अगर आपके पास कोई भी सवाल हो मेरे लिए, मलिया के लिए, आई थिंक मलिया के लिए होंगे, मेरे लिए शायद ना हो, कोई बात नहीं, आप कमेंट्स में प्लीज़ लिखिएगा, हम कोशिश करेंगे कि आपको जवाब दें. थैंक यू सो मच मलिया for being here, and I really hope this is something that I'm doing for the first time. I want to help educate my audience. I want to help them help themselves, and inshallah your contribution will go a long way. Is there anything else that you would want to say as a parting note?
No, thank you so much for having me here, and I'm a great fan of yours, and best of luck and congratulations on this new venture.
Malia, thank you so much for being here. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the first episode. Second episode आने वाली है. Remember the show's name. Let's talk about it. और अगर आपके पास कोई भी फीडबैक है हमें कमेंट्स में ज़रूर दीजिएगा. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.